Thank you to the EA Creator Network for providing me with game codes, enabling me to conduct research and produce this podcast. This podcast was recorded on Kaurna Land. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of Kaurna country and country throughout Australia. I recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land, and pay my respects to elders past, present and upcoming.
Come on, Nana.
Woohoo! Oh, yes.
Mashuno!
Hey everyone, welcome to Live Mode. This is Alex, WoohooTattoo. Welcome to episode 2. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be able to bring this one to you today. And we are going to be talking about a whole lot of news and a whole lot of history. Unfortunately, my guest had to pull out, which is quite sad, but that's okay. I've got a whole lot of content we can go through. So let's get started. And we're going to start off with some news. So what's happening with The Sims this week? Well, actually not much, to be completely honest. I actually struggled to find any sort of information because it seems like the Sims team have gone quiet. And so when this normally happens, it means, especially this time of year, because it's May, next month is June, that's usually when like things happen. So we're thinking like Gamescom, EA Play, whatever it's called, that it used to be the whole game season would be coming because Steam sales and E3. So I'm wondering if there's going to be an announcement soon, which is why there's all quiet on the Sims side. So I did have a bit of a dig, and there is a little bit of a gossip going around. So these are rumors. I'm going to put some links in the description so you can follow along. But I want to just have a quick chat about the future of The Sims, because The Sims, the brand, is actually sort of changing a little bit. And there has been a little bit of speak on social media where people have actually found some information about the rebrand. So apparently there's going to be a logo change. There's a whole lot of different logo changing. And this comes with the speculation of this new rebrand. They recently had a collaboration with a marketing team called Collins, and it seems like they're sort of taking off The Sims 4. And when I say The Sims 4, I mean they're taking the 4 off of The Sims. So they're sort of amalgamating the franchise to The Sims. And whether this is going to be sort of like a step towards sort of modernizing it and keeping The Sims separate from their future projects, be whatever the hell Project Renee is. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this also comes with the fact that they have also talked about rebranding some of the packs. So there was some leaks that came out showing some images of like Jungle Adventure, Wedding Stories, and Snowy Escape packs with just the Sims logo and the plumb bob on top. And these images show like a more detailed sort of, so it's just the normal words Jungle Adventure, and then you've got some sort of moss and it's like a weathered sort of rusty look on it, whereas Snowy Escape is kind of like, icy. It kind of looks like a bit of a glacier, and My Wedding Stories is gold. So it's giving a little bit of future to what we're expecting for the next financial year or fiscal year. But they've also talked about some Sims things like the Sims sessions kind of thing. So whether that's going to be like an online event that happens. And then there was a lot of posts about merch and like some tags on clothes and stuff like that. So again, this is sort of a little bit of a rebrand that comes along with something called Collins Marketing. And Nick Ace is in charge of that, and he works for Collins Marketing. So it's kind of interesting to see where they're going to go with that. A lot of people are talking about it and whether or not they like it. Personally, I'm indifferent. I don't care. Like I am an old school simmer. I love to collect the cases, and I like it when they have their own sort of little sort of touch. So when they change them all to look exactly the same with just a different picture on them, that kind of irked me a little bit. But again, I just really want the games to be good. So that's all that really matters to me. Now, I'm sort of going to mention as well, because I did mention the fiscal year, and in America, I believe that the fiscal year ends in April. So we've just had their EA earnings call. So the quarter 4 and financial years 2025 earnings call. And they did actually mention saying that they had a double-digit growth last year. So this is obviously keeping in mind that they just had the Sims 1 and Sims 2 re-release, as well as the Business Hobbies expansion pack and all of the kits that came out too. So this is kind of exciting, I guess. But I also want to mention the fact that it was a long time ago that the base game of The Sims 4 is actually free. So you can go and download this from the EA app or Steam, and you don't have to pay for the base game. So it's free to play. Obviously, then you pay for the content. And this is where EA actually makes 90% of their revenue. And this was confirmed by Andrew Wilson, who is the CEO of EA. But obviously, this is how the future of The Sims is going to happen. We're just going to keep seeing a plethora of content for The Sims 4. So there you go. Now, I also wanted to sort of touch on the Investor Day that happened last year as well. I think it was October or something. But they mentioned a lot about the future. And this is a day that they basically put out there to say, hey, who wants to spend money on our plans? And they sort of do a little presentation and talk about, what they want to do in the future. So there was this lady, I didn't get her name. I've never seen her before, but she talked really fast. I had to slow the video down because I was like, hold up, Chook, you're talking way too fast for me. She talked about Project Renee. People thought this was going to be Sims 5, and then that got absolutely slammed down on that we're not getting a Sims 5. But Project Renee is allowing players to connect, create, and socialize together like never before. So there is obviously the idea of whether we're going to have an online Sims game soon. There's also some more Sims mobile game projects stories, which is going to be like an online app to obviously connect all of those different platforms together, including a shared gallery. So there's way to import objects, and they are actually using AI. Now, this is still quite a touchy subject. AI is the future technology, and despite its environmental catastrophes that it causes, unfortunately, this is probably going to be the way of the future. So I will constantly fight it, don't worry. But I think turning to a complete AI focus is disgusting. Like if we take a look at Duolingo and what they've done, I fell off Duolingo because I was like, no, thank you. I'm not interested in AI. Goodbye. But I do believe that AI can be used for good. And this I'm not too sure about. But what they're thinking of doing is, well, not thinking, but they're planning on doing is using AI to help improve the search function on the gallery. So for example, if you were looking for, and this is the example they used, if you were looking for a red house with white awnings, you could upload a picture of someone's house, creepy, to the gallery, and it will pop up every single red house with white awnings. So it kind of breaks down the language barrier a little bit. So if you were on a French website and you liked that dress and that model was wearing that really nice dress, you could literally upload that picture and you could find someone's content, or you could even create that content in the game for your sim, which then sort of poses another question. What's going to happen to content creators? There's quite a lot of grey area here, and I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm interested to see how it goes. Considering there are over 100 million player uploads on the gallery, it would make it a really good discovery tool. However, I wish this could be utilized in the actual in-game catalog. Like when you're trying to find something in the build buy mode catalog and they haven't used their tags properly, can we focus on maybe getting the game working instead of adding new features? Because that would be so much better. Thank you. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about The Sims 4 in the future. They actually, I will mention as well, they've got the movie that apparently was supposed to be, maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe they're going to have an announcement about that soon. Is it EA Play? Is that the, whatever. Maybe EA Play is like next month, and that's why everyone's sitting on their hands at the moment. Hi, this is post-recording Alex here, so sorry about the terrible quality. I'm using a different mic. I did a Google because I wanted to double check when EA Play is, and apparently it is going to be in Los Angeles and London in June 2025. So that could be in a couple of weeks.
Ah, yips.
Just so you know. But also I think the reason that they've had a double-digit growth is because they've actually let go a lot of people in the actual EA teams. And I'm not just talking about EA Sims, I'm talking about all over the brand. So yeah, what else has happened in the news this week? Now, we did have a lot of Twitch happenings, actually. So the Twitch Rivals competition happened, and I thought this was really, really cool. I actually had to screenshot some things so that I could make sure I talked about it because there's so much to this and it's incredible. So basically there were 40 simmers. So there were 20 groups, different teams. So we had people like Nard Villain, we had Dizzy Miss Lizzie, we had Spring Sims, we had Vixella, we had Dr. Gluon, we had X Mirror Mirror, we had Zephyr, we had Groofy. There were so many. There was also Spring Sims. I said Spring Sims. English Simmers, Defo Sims, Lil Simsy, of course. She was the creator. There was just so many simmers all against each other. Sorry if I didn't say your name, but you can go and check this out on Twitch. Again, I'll leave the link below. Basically, there was a little bingo card that they had to do, and they would score points for the more squares that they would click off. And if they got a bingo, then they would get more points. I just loved the bingo card, and I'm thinking I'm actually going to try and do this in the game myself because there's some really fun things that sometimes I just forget about are in the game or I've just never really done. So here are some examples. So obviously start a fire, amazing. Bring a sim back to life. Take a selfie with Bella Goth. Become a plant sim. Resurrect a ghost pet. Milk a rainbow cow. The one that cracked me up was also I didn't watch the whole thing. I think I got about halfway through because it's about 4 hours long. Have a cat ride on the robot vacuum. That was just funny. Become enemies with Nancy Landgrab. So there was some really funny little things on here, and just to see their like their strategies on how they would work together, because each team could like work together, and it was just really, really fun. So I hope we see more of that because I loved that concept. Also on Twitch, we had Spring Sims host a walkthrough developer kit developer walkthrough. I don't even know how to describe it. And personally, I didn't watch this as much as I want to support Steven. I didn't want to hear about the kits anymore because I've done my kit thing and now I'm moving on. But I'm sure he did a wonderful job. I did flick through a lot of it and I saw that there was a lot of interaction and engagement. So if you are looking at more information on those little kits, that is the Golden Years Restoration Workshop and the Kitchen Clutter Kit that was just recently released. And I went through those very briefly in my last episodes. So go and check out Spring Sims and I'll put the link in below. Then also there's something I want to mention too, which is so, so cute. And I don't even know if you guys know that this exists. The Sims forums actually have a little Friday highlights section, which is actually posted by the community members of EA. And they sort of pick out some people from the Sims forums and showcase their stuff. And I think this is such a really good way to sort of engage with the community. And I'm personally not a big Discord user. I don't love Discord. It's overwhelming for me. Anything that's just too much, I just, no thank you. But I love a forum because I can read back and it's not too hard for me to follow and it's good. I like it. They give you a sort of a little bit of an overview of what happened in the week as well. So if you're sort of not sure where to look or what topics you're interested in, it sort of does a big sort of overview. And there was one as well, it took me to, again, this is why I like forums. It took me to a really, really cute post that I wanted to highlight as well. This is a post by Sunny_C_72, and they have actually posted their own little sort of document that they've created, and it's called a Sims Record of Achievement. So you can actually print this out or keep it on the system or whatever, and you can go through and tick it off as you complete your Sims milestones and creative skills and stuff like that. And I just think that this is rad. As someone that I love journaling and bullet journaling and keeping track of my Sims, I think this is amazing. And I think that's a really good segue to talk about our next segment, which is going to be SimNation University. We're here for another session of SimNation University where we're talking about some more Sims lore, because I thought there's still so much to talk about when it comes to the Sims 1. I was actually going to do Sims 2, but I thought, I want to touch on Sims 1 before we go into Sims 2, because Sims 1 just set us up, And I thought I'd talk about some lore, but when you really think about the Sims 1, there's actually not that much lore at all. It's kind of, it's actually up to the player to create those stories, and I'll explain why. So when you're loading into The Sims 1 for the first time, we do have some pre-made families. Now, keeping in mind, in my last episode, I explained how The Sims 1 was made and a little bit of backstory on what it's all about. So keeping in mind, it was a dollhouse simulator. So think of it like a Tamagotchi. You've got this little dude that lives in your computer and you just need to feed it, make sure it doesn't piss itself, and its motives are high, and eventually you can earn money. It's a tongue-in-cheek capitalism simulator, let's be real. There are some families already in the game, including the newbies. Now, I'm going to start with the newbies because if you start playing the game, this is the one that they sort of egg you into playing first because there's a giant arrow above their house saying, please click me. And this is how to learn how to play the game. So we're going to meet Bob first. And this is Bob Newbie. He's an Aquarius. And his description reads as, Bob is new to the neighborhood. He needs some help getting familiar with his new environment. Can you help him through this tutorial? And then obviously you follow the tutorial and it teaches you how to walk over here and click on this and dance to that. And oh no, his hygiene is down. Maybe you should go and shower. And then all of a sudden, Betty pops into the equation. And this is where Social talks about, how we're going to get to know Betty. And Betty is also new to the neighborhood. She is getting familiar with her new environment. Is that the same bio? Yes, it is. Can you help her learn how to interact in her new home? So the bios are very basic. Again, it's up to the player to sort of imagine and sort of create their own storylines. So we have some other houses as well. We've obviously got Mortimer and Bella Goth with Cassandra. And this is where it kind of gets a little bit juicy. We've got Mortimer, cheerful and outgoing. Mortimer brings his old country upbringing into the modern age. He has an unusual fondness for insects. I don't know what that means. But good for you, Mortimer. We love you. And then we have Bella. Elegant and athletic are two qualities that describe Bella. She enjoys a variety of activities from golf to miniature golf. And I think that's probably why Bella is always at the fucking gym, because she is elegant and athletic, and bitch, she's got a snatched body. But there's also Michael Batchelor. Michael Batchelor is actually, this is canon. I can confirm that Michael Batchelor is actually Bella's brother. So Bella's last name is actually Batchelor because that's how she appears in The Sims 3, which is actually a prologue to The Sims 1. Michael's just out of college, doesn't know what to do with his life. Can you help Michael succeed? Wow, wow. Then we've sort of got the Pleasants, and it's kind of like they're new to the family neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. Can you help her on her social ladder? We've got Chris and Melissa Roomy. Chris and Melissa are the new roommates. They're new to the neighborhood. Can you help them make new friends? And it kind of goes on and on like this. Now, we sort of get a little bit more when Unleashed comes out. I will also mention that when Living Large came out, we got the opportunity to add more neighborhoods into the game. So we had neighborhood 1, which was like 10 lots. And then if you wanted to build another house, you had to delete your lot. I know, it was crazy. Then we got neighborhood 2, which included this like octagonal house. And it was crazy. And that included Frankie and Sylvie Marie Meshuggah. And apparently these are supposed to be like a Jewish family, and the word Meshuggah is supposed to be Yiddish for crazy. And it kind of does represent what they're all about because they're, oh my God, look, I'm not here to say they're crazy, but they're eclectic for sure. Their decoration is just incredible. We're talking like leopard print, we're talking fluoro, we're talking lime green everywhere. It is stunning, baby. But they don't have any bios, so we don't really know much what to do with them. And it's up to you to sort of create that story. I accidentally burnt down Frankie the other day, and now he is a zombie. Yeah. And we don't actually see Frankie and Sylvie Marie ever again. That is the first and last time in The Sims. Oh, wow. Someone's deciding to mow their lawn right next to me. Great. That's the last time we see them in The Sims franchise. Some people say that they moved on and they didn't continue living in the Sim Nation, or they died. But we have no recollection of their graves either, so we don't know. Then in Unleashed, we do have some more lore, and this comes with Cornelia and Gunther Goth, and these are actually Mortimer's parents. Now, it says Cornelia is the founder of SimCity Bridge Society and enjoys high tea and phrenology. I don't know what that is. She's thankful to have her granddaughter Cassandra so nearby. And Gunther brought his family from the old country when his son Mortimer was just a lad. Having amassed quite a fortune, he's the founding father of the neighborhood. So this obviously does build a lot of the lore for the upcoming games, and there's a lot of references to them in other games. So it's a really, really good way of sort of, building on that. But other than that, we've got the Burbs. We've got Brad Burb and Tiffany Burb, and they are, I don't think we have them again. I think they come in Sims 3, but one of the mini packs. And then we also have named Claire Charming. She's part of the Unleashed pack, and she's got a little puppy. And then we also have Ginia Cat. She's got a lot of cats. And then we've also got Mama and Eldon, who also have some puppies. And we don't see any of those guys ever again. They sort of stopped there. But I also want to mention we do have the Pleasants. So the Pleasants were one of the families that was shipped with the original Sims 1 game. And these guys actually do come back in Sims 2. So again, being Sims 2 is 25 years in the future, we're actually playing with Daniel Pleasant and his wife. So that's something we can talk about another day. But I want to talk today about sort of like recurring things in The Sims. So I'm going to talk about some of the recurring NPCs that happen in The Sims 1. And you're probably going to know all about these because you've heard of them before. Now, I'm going to give the honorable mentions first because these are ones that have sort of carried over from The Sims 1 into many of the other games. And I'm only going to sort of talk about the Sims franchise as the Sims 1, Sims 2, Sims 3, and Sims 4. I'm not really talking about the console ports today or any of the sort of like spin-offs because personally, I'm a PC Sims player. I never really fell in love with playing them on the console. I just feel like it's a better experience for me to be able to play with a mouse and keyboard. And yes, I know you can connect a mouse and keyboard to current consoles. But also when the handhelds came out, I was older. So I never really had a handheld. Like I didn't have a PSP. I didn't have a DS until later. So I never really got the opportunity to play these games. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about some NPCs. So an NPC obviously is a non-player controlled character. And this basically means that it's anybody in the game who you technically aren't supposed to be playing, but we find cheats. Don't worry. We've got ways around this now, don't we? All right, so we've got the mail carrier. So this is somebody that comes in and delivers your bills. And in The Sims 1, it was Carrie the mail carrier. We also had the Repo Man, and we've had the Repo Man in every single game. And recently added in The Sims 4 during the Discover University pack. We also had in Sims 1 the social worker who takes away your baby if you are not looking after them. Then, of course, we've got the services NPCs. So the maid, the gardener, the repairman, the pizza deliverer, who was originally known as Freddy the Pizza Dude and then got renamed as Pizza Dude Dale in Hot Date, I think it was. Then, of course, you've got your firefighters and the police. And I think it's Police Officer Michelle and firefighter Freddy. Maybe that's why they changed his name. Anyway. And then the one I want to mention, of course, is Nancy the Paper Girl. So she used to deliver the newspaper. And if you had too many newspapers and you had a stinky, smelly lot, she just wouldn't deliver it. And if you had a dog from Unleashed, the dog would bark at her and scare her away. And she had this beautiful, iconic whistle. I just miss her so much. She's not in The Sims 4 because we don't get newspapers anymore. So maybe one day we might have like a little retro pack and they give us her back because she is iconic. Here are some other NPCs that I just think are iconic and deserve a little bit of a shout out before I talk about some that are like the big ones, the big NPCs. So in Living Large, if you put a plate of cookies out and a Christmas tree near a fireplace at midnight, Santa Claus will appear. And then while your Sims are sleeping, he'll actually leave you presents. So I just think that's super duper cute. I think I've only done that like once or twice. There's also the genie, which came from the lamp. So you could rub the lamp and the genie would come out and grant your wish. So they were just some of the NPCs. In House Party, we had a few NPCs. We had the entertainer. So this was with the cake. And the cake just made its recent return in The Sims 4 that we had for the birthday, the retro event. So it's a giant cake and somebody hides in it and then they pop out and they're playing this sexy music and you'll get either Chip or Bunny the dancer. And then after their little dance, they'll hang around and they'll sort of like flirt with the guests and they're very sassy. I love it. Sometimes other NPCs will jump out, but I'm not going to spoil that for you because it's hilarious. So there's other party guests that you can get. If you throw a pretty dud party, you might get a mime, and this mime's going to sort of come and not really do much. He's just kind of make it a little bit more awkward. You've got a party crasher, and the party crashers could be male or female, and they're going to come in and they might trash the place, to be honest. Then you've also got Drew Carey. And this is obviously Drew Carey from like the Drew Carey Show, or Whose Line Is It Anyway? And he was huge in the 90s and 2000s. So if you threw a really good party, Drew Carey would rock up and everyone would sort of like run to the limo that's out the front and they would just freak out. I caught him once on my lot and I kept him there for ages. So the next expansion pack to give us some NPCs was Hot Date. Claire the Bear was introduced with Hot Date, and Claire the Bear is probably one of my favorites because she's so sweet. She just comes in, she like tiptoes in, she goes through your bin, she goes through the rubbish, and then she'll grab some cake and then she'll run away. She'll actually cry if she sees like a bearskin rug or a teddy bear or something. And in making magic, she'll come and eat your honey. So watch out, honey. Oh, also apparently in the nifty knitting kit for The Sims 4, you can actually make a Claire Bear toy. And I just found that out today. I found out so much while researching this today, I tell you what. Vacation has some pretty cool NPCs. We've got Betty Yeti, who was the mascot for the winter. Then we had Marky Sharky, who is the mascot for the beach. And then we had Archie the Archer, who was the mascot for the forest. And I really want to just make a little note here saying that I'm pretty sure Betty Yeti and Yamachan from Snowy Escape, they're dating, okay? Yeah, just letting you know that. Now, in Unleashed, there were heaps of NPCs when it came to the downtown area, as with, obviously, Hot Date. You've got, like, the sax player and there's, like, a fortune teller and that kind of stuff. But we had El Bandito, and he was the raccoon, or they were the raccoon, I should say, who would come and you'd get the little pop-up in the corner and it would be like, and you're like, what the hell? And then they'd come and wake up your Sims by rummaging through the bin. And obviously he had a little mate. He was like Henry LeStunk or something like that. And he was a skunk. And if you had low hygiene on your lot and a bad room score, then the skunk would come too. And if your Sim went out and interacted with it, you would get sprayed and then your Sim just would never get clean. So these ones can actually be fixed by calling animal control. And then the animal control guy, Evan, I think his name was, he would come and get them and then charge you like 500 simoleons to get rid of them. So yeah, El Bandito. And I reckon this is who they were referencing in the Businesses and Hobbies kit, don't you reckon? The whole raccoon thing. Loved it. Then we're talking about Superstar. So the Superstar kit had so many NPCs because we've got Studio Town, which is kind of like the lot that you have where you go to work. So there were different sort of themed lots. There was one for modeling, there was one for music, and then there was one for acting. So we had an obsessed fan. So the obsessed fan you got when you were like a high level of stardom. And this basically was a guy who would come in and he would try and break into your house and steal your stuff, mainly your trophies if you'd won any from being a superstar. But then he'd also like leave dead black roses everywhere. It was so creepy. I hated that guy. We also had some famous people with a collaboration with Superstar. And this is when it started to get really popular in the 2000s. We had some like musicians like Avril Lavigne and Christina Aguilera and John Bon Jovi, Sarah McLachlan. And then we had Elle Woods, which was a pre-order. So Elle Woods is from Legally Blonde. That was a pre-order from Amazon. I didn't know about that. We had some famous actresses. We had Marilyn Monroe and we had Freddie Prinze Jr. And then we had Andy Warhol, who was, this is kind of bizarre to me, but he was the photographer. And he's actually an artist from the 60s. And it was like a pop art movement of the 60s. He's an amazing artist. I really love his stuff. And I don't know if it was the Sim Superstar that got me into Andy Warhol, but have a look at the Campbell's Soup Can by Andy Warhol. It's iconic. And there's also the Marilyn Monroe portrait that he did. And that just screams Sim Superstar to me. The last pack we had was the Making Magic. And again, we had some little townies that were like NPCs. But the main one, and this is the first guy you see every single time you start up The Sims 1, and that's the Mystery Man. and he's going to bring you some stuff. And if you want to be a magic sim, you can keep it. Or if you don't, you sell it and you get like an extra $2,000. So thank you, Magic Man. That is all those Sims NPCs. Now I want to talk about the big ones. These are so iconic that they've actually made it into every single Sims game, whether it be real, like in a Sims game, and they are the NPC in that game, or referenced either via object descriptions or some way or another. So let's talk about first the tragic clown. Sonny the tragic clown. Well, he was first added into the game in The Sims 1 Living Large, and I remember playing this. And when you would have a sim that had like no money and it was really pissed off and you're like, oh, and it would say the room score is bad because this was a big thing in The Sims 1, right? So you'd just be like, whatever. And you just drop down the cheapest painting, which just happened to be Sonny the Tragic Clown. You didn't realize that if you did that, it was kind of dangerous. Once you do that and your sim suffers from low social, you get a visit from this very sad clown. When I say he's a tragic clown, I mean he's a tragic clown. He will come in and he'll try, okay? He's doing his best. He's doing his darndest to try to cheer this sim up. And he'll do things like juggle and drop the balls and then cry about it. There's one where he's got like a dove and he like throws the dove up and the dove dies midair and then drops to the ground. So he does all sorts of silly little pranks and he just never gets them right. And it's kind of a little bit sad and very tragic, right? So there's only one way to get rid of the clown. And yes, you can call the clown catchers, which will cost you like 500 simoleons. I think, was it 1,200 simoleons? It's expensive, let's put it that way. And they'll come and they will chase him around and he'll escape every single time. And then eventually they'll get him and he will bawl his eyes out and you'll feel so guilty. And then the clown catchers will take away the painting. But taking away the painting isn't going to work every time. So what you actually have to do is burn that painting. So you have to put the painting on top of a fireplace and set fire to it. It's absolutely horrendous. But according to the Prima official strategy guide, the tragic clown used to have an unmentionably close affiliation with the Burger Clown Partnerships Incorporated. But that relationship was ended abruptly and the tragic clown has never fully recovered. Wow. So in The Sims 2, we don't have the tragic clown, but we have something called the social bunny. And this is kind of the polar opposite. The social bunny will actually try to cheer your sim up. And during The Sims 2, when you're playing, you can actually sometimes see a photo of the tragic clown on the milk carton in The Sims 2, which I think is just hilarious. Now, the social bunny will only be visible to the sim who's currently hallucinating the social bunny. So it's not like he's just going to appear and walk around the house like in Sims 1. So if you're not clicked on that sim, you won't be able to see the social bunny. So it's kind of like an invisible friend kind of thing. So that's the social bunny. We might go into social bunny another day. The Sims 3. Now, this is where it gets weird. Now, there actually technically isn't a tragic clown or social bunny in The Sims 3, but they added some crazy freaking lore, okay? So first of all, he appears as a human with face paint. He's also got the hydrophobic trait. And in The Sims 3, he's actually dead. So you can find his grave and you can resurrect him, bring him back, and you'll find out that he's actually died by drowning, which is weird because Sims who have the hydrophobic trait would avoid this. So that's weird. He's also got a lifetime wish or want of becoming a world-class surgeon, world-renowned surgeon. So that's bizarre as well. But this kind of like, lets us build into the story of maybe that's why he jumps out of the painting in The Sims 1 because he's actually a ghost. So it's very creepy. It's very weird. Anyway, there's quite a lot of other references to the tragic clown in The Sims 3 too. And then in The Sims 4, we have the tragic clown. And I'd actually forgotten about this until I was playing Businesses and Hobbies recently. And I saw him walking around and I screamed. I was like, what? I think I was actually streaming. I was like, this is insane. I forgot. 2016 in April, they actually re-released. They uploaded him during an update patch thing. He's just a randomly generated townie sim. So if you move him in, another one will be generated. There's also an outfit. So you can actually wear his little tragic clown outfit. And if you do that, you'll get a moodlet, which gives you +3 sadness buff called Tears of a Clown. And any sim near you will receive another moodlet that says such a tragedy. So it is a bummer, but the tragic clown lives. Next up, we're going to talk about the Grim Reaper, right? Because the Grim Reaper is probably the most important, because with life comes death. So the Grim Reaper has also been around since Living Large, because I think Living Large added a lot of these kind of silly things that sort of shaped The Sims and the Sims franchise. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about The Sims is how cartoony and silly it is. And this is why. So obviously the Grim Reaper, in theory, I'm not going to go into history and science here, but the Grim Reaper is known to have been the Reaper of Souls. So he will take your soul when you die. So the Grim Reaper will come and appear when your sim dies. Now, previous to the Grim Reaper being put into The Sims 1, the dying sim would just spawn a gravestone automatically, and that's it. Like, there would be no Grim Reaper. But in the Living Large expansion pack, when the Grim Reaper appears, he'll sort of appear and have like a cloud of skulls around him, which is just so fucking brutal. And then he'll move over to the dead sim and like wave his scythe around. And any adult sim can actually go up to them and plea for the sim's life. So they can actually attempt to save that sim. There's like a 50% chance on whether or not that will work. And sometimes they'll even get turned into a zombie, like I did the other day with old mate Frankie Meshuggah. I didn't even know that could happen. 25 years on, I'm still learning things about this game. Also, apparently there's a little Easter egg that if you put more than 5 jack-o'-lanterns around your Sim's lot, he will actually come and do like a doorbell, what's it called? A doorbell dash or whatever, where they ring the doorbell and run away, which I just think is hilarious. There you go, Sims 1. So in The Sims 2, he actually looked a little bit different. He kind of was more like a wraith. He looked like one of those Lord of the Rings. He was kind of like grey, and he wasn't the normal like dark skull in a hooded robe kind of thing. So there's a lot of lore in The Sims 2, and we're going to get into that one day. I'm kind of saving it because I want to just go straight in. He actually has a child in The Sims 2 with Olive Spectre. And even though this isn't even like, you can't even do this through regular gameplay, Nervous Subject is his son. And in The Sims 2, the portrait is actually a female Grim Reaper, even though they refer to male pronouns in the dialogue. So there's so many wacky things going in The Sims 2. There's also 2 different types of old age, I guess, animations. So if your sim dies of old age and the Grim Reaper comes up, and they are in like aspiration failure, so they're in like red or green, that's not failure, but if they're in failure, the Grim Reaper will come with like an oversized like hourglass, and it'll sort of mean like your time is up kind of thing, and then they'll get taken away that way. Or if they're gold or platinum, like they've done a lot in their life, they'll get some hula dancers, some little ghostly hula dancers, and Grim will rock up with a pink lei, and they'll just sort of like shimmy their way off to, I guess, the afterlife, which is a beautiful tropical island. So that's kind of sweet. I think that's adorable. Now, The Sims 3. I think this is the most evil Grim of all. He is just cold and heartless, and he shows no compassion, empathy, or remorse. He's just, you can't plead. Well, you couldn't plead. I think they updated it. But he also acts so coldly towards any recently deceased Sims or anyone who tries to, because you can play chess against him, right? And apparently that's like a reference to a movie. But I always think of the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, where they're like playing battleships. Like Play the Reaper or whatever it is. That's so funny. But apparently he's actually nice to dogs and cats. I don't like having dogs and cats die in my game because that makes me very sad. But he'll like throw a ball or a stick for them to chase. And I think that's just so sweet. But yeah, The Sims 3, evil. And then of course in The Sims 4, we've had the Grim Reaper since day dot. So recently in the Life and Death expansion pack, only then, which was like October 2024, have we been able to romance the Grim Reaper. So it was just hilarious. I was in a bar recently, and on the back of the door, they've got a current campaign, the government, about like sending text messages while you drive. It says stop flirting with death, and it's got a picture of like the Grim Reaper on someone's phone. And I'm like, oh, this whole Sims community when we found out that we could woohoo Grim. So yeah, people are like woohoo and Grim Reaper left, right, and center. Olive Spectre is back. So, you know, honey, she's trying to sow her wild oats with the Grim again. And apparently Don Lothario doesn't mind a little bit of a grimmy touch either. So
Woohoo!
there's the Grim Reaper, probably my fave. I do love Grim Reaper. And while we're talking about spooky stuff, let's talk about Bonehilda. Bonehilda is an NPC that was originally introduced in The Sims 1, making magic. And she's kind of like she's a closet, first of all. She's an old rickety coffin-shaped closet, and you knock on it and she'll come out and do chores. So she's kind of like a maid. I mean, she's Bonehilda. She's a maid, but she's also a skeleton. And she'll sort of just come out and she'll do some stuff, like she'll care for babies, she'll repair things, she'll clean up your mess. But she has her quirks, you know. She does like her liquor or her booze. She likes her booze. Yeah, that was bad. After she drinks her liquor, she'll actually leave a puddle on the floor behind, which is hilarious. She'll also like wave to gravestones and like try and socialize with them, which is so cute. And if somebody dies and Grim Reaper comes, she'll try and get the Grim Reaper's autograph. She's a total fangirl for the Grim too. So she's not mentioned in The Sims 2 at all. However, in The Sims 3, she's back. She's just another maid. So very much like Sims 1, but she can train pets now. So that's lovely. But she's broken at being a babysitter, apparently. I'm just checking to see if that's The Sims 1 or Sims 2. Yes, it was The Sims 3 Supernatural. So she's not mentioned in Sims 2. But yeah, she's broken. She doesn't want to be a babysitter. Apparently, if she goes and interacts with toddlers, she just does nothing. So come on, Bonehilda, sort it out. And then in Sims 4 Paranormal Stuff, you can actually summon her with the Seance table, which is so cool. While she's there as well, she can help with other ghosts on that haunted lot if you've got that great lot. And if another maid, like a living Sim maid, comes out, she'll actually freak out. Like the maid will freak out and she'll be like, oh my God, is this my demise? Which I think is just hilarious. And if you ask her about her job, she says she's a macabre maid at a company called Make and Magic Maid Mausoleum. I just think it's so cute. I love Bonehilda. Let's have a talk about Agnes Crumplebottom. Now, this got me a little bit confused because apparently there's two Crumplebottoms. There's Miss Crumplebottom, which is Agnes Crumplebottom. And then there's Mrs. Crumplebottom, who could be a different Crumplebottom because she spells her last name with a capital B in there or with a lowercase b. I don't know, man. It got too deep for me. I just was like, whatever. So, if you guys don't know who Crumplebottom is, she is an old lady. She's dealing with the emotional pain of her husband's death. It's made her very bitter and very resentful of others' personal displays of affection, okay? And it's resulted in a very toxic way of dealing with it. She just beats up people with her handbag. So this was introduced in Hot Date in The Sims 1, and if you are standing there on Hot Date, and if Crumplebottom rocks up, she'll sort of hang around, but if she sees you making out and canoodling, she's going to come and get you. Like, she'll literally walk up and you'll hear, like, this noise and she will have beaten you with her handbag. And it's so funny. You better have quick reflexes because she's going to be getting you quicker than you can say, oh, no, boo. Disgusting. Never have I ever witnessed such tasteless flouting of proper manners in all my days. As the young folks say, get a room. It's just so funny. And according to the Prima Guide, it says, nothing gets her goat faster than a public display of affection. Her radar spots a kiss a mile away. And it's so true. She's hilarious. So now this is where it gets a bit chaos because in The Sims 2, while she does exist in The Sims 2, she's not the same. She's Mrs. Crumplebottom. So she's an NPC like she was in The Sims 1, but she seems to be like a distant relative. Anyway, the reason is because mainly she wears a different dress, even though she looks exactly the same. She spells her name wrong. And she's got a tan dress, not a grey dress. So I don't know, but same sort of thing. In Sims 2, this came with the nightlife expansion pack, I think it was. She'll just come beat you. She'll beat you up. Stop kissing in public, guys. Disgusting. Sims 3, she actually appears in Sunset Valley, I think it is. And she's actually a young Sim in this. And the bio states, it's just so sad, that the two were recently married and before her husband's death, she didn't even have a chance to take her husband's last name. His ghost actually haunts her, keeping other gentlemen callers away. So no wonder she has trauma. And also her sister is Cornelia Goth, which actually makes Mortimer a crumple bottom. I think that's so funny. In The Sims 4, we had the return of Crumple Bottom in cottage living. So now she lives in Headford on Bagley, and she hangs out with her cousin Agatha, who is hilariously very romantic, alluring, and outgoing, much to her despise, I guess. And in The Sims 4 Growing Together, Sims will receive a milestone of crumple bottomed once they get hit by the purse. And I think that's so funny. In the Sims 4 Home Chef Hustle stuff, it reveals that Agnes believes the correct method for preparing a scone is jam first and then cream. And honey, I can't agree more. I think so too. Oh God. Now I was going to leave it here because it did say that these were the four, Mortimer Goth, Bella Goth, Bob Newby, Betty Newby, Daniel Pleasant, Grim Reaper, and Agnes were the main ones that sort of carried over for the whole franchise. And obviously Bohilda, even though she was only not in Sims 2. But you know who else is in a lot of them? And technically, it's not really an NPC because it's not really a Sim, but I have to talk about Servo. So the Servo is actually like Bonehilda, but a robot. So you buy this purchasable machine and you activate it and a robot comes out and does your gardening and stuff. So I looked into this. I did heaps of research because I haven't really done a lot with the servos before. I know I've done it in Sims 2 and Sims 1. Don't think I did it in Sims 3 or Sims 4. Mainly because by the time Sims 3 came out, I was kind of over it. And then Sims 4, university drove me insane. So servo comes from the Latin name servus, which is Latin for servant, but it's also French for brain. Cerveau, right? And I thought that was really cool because it's kind of like a brain who serves you, right? And it's like basically robot. I just think that's so cool. Of course, in Australian, servo means petrol station. That hasn't got anything to do with anything. So this kind of takes place of your maid, your gardener, your repairman, and it will give your sim back rubs. That's it. Other thing I really like about Servo in The Sims 1 is that it'll change hats when it's doing different jobs. So if it's like making you some food and it pulls a little thing out of its chest, it puts the chef hat on. And I think that's very cute. But it's kind of just an object in The Sims 1. But The Sims 2 is where it gets really cool. So in Open for Business, this is where it gets a little bit crazy. So this is how it's described. This friendly humanoid robot is truly but one step from humanity. The servo model has a gender-assignable artificial intelligence unit that simulates all the desires of a real human, friendship, success, and even love. Just make sure you keep the servo model in a good mood or else you'll be the one cleaning up all the ash piles while your new friend lies sparking in the corner. Yes, you can activate it as a female or a male sim and give it a name. They do not have comfort or hygiene or hunger motives, and they're not really affected by weather, like temperature. They can also woohoo, and you get a little notification memory that says, wowza, you'll never forget your first woohoo with a robot. And also you can do a special flirt interaction called tune up. It doesn't actually do anything to them, but they like it. So you build this one on the actual robot crafting station. When it's born or activated, you get 10 points in cooking, 10 points in cleaning, and 10 points in mechanical. And then it will also take on any skill points of the sim who has activated it. They also have aspirations, wants, and fears, and they can be generational because they don't really die unless you want them to. They do need to be powered down, and you can power them down indefinitely, so you don't have to use them ever again. You can also combine them with other occults like vampire, zombie, werewolf, and witch. I think I did the vampire one when I had Sims 2, but I'm going to have to go back and play that because Sims 2 I'm so ready to get back into Sims 2. But water is their weakness. Obviously, it's a robot. Make sure they don't go outside while it's raining because if they are broken, they're going to run amok and cause some chaos. So now the Sims 3, this is where it gets a little bit, because they don't technically appear in the game as servos, but there is a reference to servo in the Rabbit Hole Science Lab. Yeah. And there's also some servos in music videos on their TV, but there are sim bots, which was added in Ambitions. So these guys have like 2 eyes instead of the cycloptic 1 servo eye. And they're thinking that maybe because this is set 25 years in the past, that maybe this is the sort of prototype for the servo. Kind of does give you that like steampunk sort of like, it kind of looks like, what was that? There was a movie, I think it was in the 2000s called Robots. It was like not Disney, not DreamWorks, I think it was. It kind of looks like that. Was it Will Smith? I don't know, whatever. So Simbots. These guys will actually eat scrap metal. You can get that from like the trash yard, and 1 piece will fill them up, which is great. They've also got like little unique social interactions, such as like discuss oil brands and insult puny human brain. And they also have little rocket jets in their feet so they can like propel themselves around. So Simbots. Then in The Sims 4, we got Discover University and the robotic skills. So this is something I haven't done before. I think I've made some little robots, but I haven't done the servo yet. You can build a servo and you need level 8 and a whole lot of parts. That's probably why I haven't done it, because I can never be bothered collecting the parts. Now, apparently, though, they can chase away the paparazzi. So this is something that I'm going to look at after I finish this recording, because I need that constantly. You can also upgrade them to get certain enhancements such as skill gain, charge decay, and behavior modules, which allows things like nanny and party machine and eco-friendly tech. So I thought that was really cool. I definitely learned a lot, which was very, very sweet. Let's talk in this new segment. This is the Simmer Showcase, and this is where I'm going to be talking about CC and mods and current challenges and things that are happening that people are talking about. Sometimes I'll also talk about different lots and households that have been recommended to me. But today I'm going to be talking about how to make your Sims 4 game more fun, because The Sims 4 has been out for 11 years now. And I'm not saying it's starting to get stale, but sometimes, there's a big meme going around that's, you'll play The Sims for like 2 weeks straight and you won't move, you'll forget to eat and not sleep, and then you won't touch it for 3 months, right? Relatable. But sometimes I just get this urge to play and I stare at my screen and I'm like, what do I do? I want to play. Please, let me play you. But how do we get past that slump? Well, I've got some things to talk about today that you might find will help you with your gameplay. Obviously, the first thing I want to talk about are cheats. So if you've never played The Sims 4 with cheats before, Google cheats. Be careful, obviously, but definitely just go check out like the most important Sims cheats. Whenever you activate a cheat, you're just going to hold down the control button, the shift button, and the C button, and then you can free type up in the top left-hand corner. This has been the same for pretty much every single Sims game since day dot. If you want money, try typing the word cha-ching. That's ka-ching, actually. It's Kaching. That'll give you 1,000 simoleons. So if you just want a little top up, you don't want to cheat too much, just want a little top up. Maybe you just want that one rug. I don't know. So that's enough to get you a little bit. But if you want to go over the top and you want the motherload, baby, you type in motherload. MOTHERLODE, motherload. And there's so many other cheats out there as well. There's things like move objects on, so you can literally just move your objects and put them wherever. There's ones where you can size them up. If you're holding Alt, you can put them wherever you want. So if you're a builder, you can really, really get into the different cheats and stuff like that. There's also testing cheats where you can like right click on things. Obviously be careful when you're doing all of these cheats. Make sure you read how to use them first. And if you want me to do a segment on cheats, please let me know, because I would love to talk about them. So the next one I want to talk about are CC and mods. And this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been playing this week. So I decided to delve into some custom content and mods because I never play with mods, and this kind of explains why. My game didn't work. But I did download some new CC and mods. Again, CC is just custom content, so these are going to be your objects that don't change the game, and also maybe some creator sim assets. And then mods are basically modified bits of gameplay, so changing the way the game is. So the ones that I played with Carl's Dine Out mod. So if you've got Dine Out and it's never worked for you before, definitely give this one a try. It kind of allows you to go in and sort of like tweak the settings a little bit more and give you a lot more gameplay with this. You can actually play as the chef, so you can, or the waiter, honestly, you can literally go in and take orders, or you can change the settings to do like Uber Eats and Sims will literally come and pick up food. So it was a really, really cool way of playing it. I personally don't have any issues with playing Dine Out. I've never had an issue. People always say it's broken, but I've never had an issue with playing Dine Out. But the Carl's mod really does expand it, and it's really cool. They've got this little thing where you can put it on the wall and it tells you how many orders are up. That was magnificent. Honestly, that was a game changer. I would keep that mod just for that item. Honestly, the best. I had the Retro Fruit mod as well by Arnie Studio. So this is a Revisit the Past. So it's got functional storage as per a USB, as well as CDs and a floppy disk. It's got a retro phone. It's got like an iPod dock. It's got classic Mac computers like Apple Macintosh and all that kind of stuff. It's got a CD tower. It's got a functionable printer. It kind of doesn't make sense to me why my sim needs a document. Maybe it's good for storytelling. So if you want to start like an office sort of gameplay, that's my next topic, by the way, is gameplay stories. You can check it out on their Patreon. I'm going to leave all these links below. Download it, get it working. It's really cool. They've got some nice swatches, and the release video was hilarious. So go check out the Retro Fruit mod. It really does bring a nice sort of like millennial sort of Y2K vibe to your game. Another one that I played was, of course, I had to check out the Juno Birch collection. That is the absolutely stunning collab by Ice Cream for Breakfast and Surely Sims. If you guys don't know who Juno Birch is, go and look at her channel, Juno Birch, on, I think, YouTube. She is a bloody amazing drag queen, simmer, trans woman. She's fucking insane. I love her. And she is an alien. I didn't say that. She's not an alien. It wasn't me. I didn't say anyone. But she's very quirky, and this whole collection is just nuts. There's a hot dog lounge. Okay? There's a lobster clock. And my favorite item is the tiki bar. And this is literally a rebuild of the Sims 1 tiki bar. And oh my God. Then there's the fashion. Don't get me started on the fashion, darling, sweetie, honey. It is gorgeous. Yes, it's happening. Go get the Juno collection because it's amazing. Those two creators are just stunning. Love it. So that's what I played this week. Add some content into your game. But if you don't want to try those ones, let me tell you what the most played mods are. So obviously we've got Wicked Whims. Wicked Whims is probably the most downloaded content mod of any of all. The Sims for Wicked Whims. Now, just letting you know that this is not for the faint at heart. This is an 18+ mod. It allows your Sims to have very graphic sexual intercourse. So don't tell anyone I didn't warn you, just so you know. That's by Turbo Driver. You can go check that out if you are feeling game. Also have fun downloading animations. That's all I'm going to say on that. And no, I haven't actually played this. I know I'm a fucking pervert, but I can't do it. It's no. Now, there's another one called The Slice of Life, and this is by Kwai Stacy. And this really adds a lot more realism into your game. I'm pretty sure you can have your Sims like menstruate and get really sick, and there's all sorts of different things that you can add in there, like get acne and things like this. So just know that if you're adding mods into your game, you're going to have to constantly keep them updated or turn off automatic updates on your Sims game. Just keeping that in there, because that means you'll have to go in there, re-download it, as the Sims creator will upload it again, because it will change every single time the game is updated. That's just a little warning from me. Another big one, and this is for the builders, is the tool mod. Now, what does the tool mod stand for? Hang on, I'm going to Google it. It stands for takes objects off lot. And it basically definitely does do that. So what it will allow you to do is pick up any item. So basically when you're building, you can say, okay, here's an example. The other day I did my review on the kitchen clutter stuff, and they have these little mittens set, right? So it's like an oven mitt and a little oven thing, right? And I said, damn, I wish I could put this on the wall. You can with Tool. So what you would do is you'd basically be able to flip it up and put it onto the wall. So this is things that I don't do. The Tool mod would probably blow my brain, let's be real. But if this is like up your alley, if you're a builder, you can do so much crazy shit with Tool mod, and there are some incredible builds out there. So when you're looking on the gallery, you might see these insane builds. It's probably the Tool mod that they've used. But just beware, you'll also need the move objects on cheat to do that. But again, not for the faint at heart. This is an advanced mod, but it is fun if you can get the hang of it. And this is by Twisted Mexi. Again, I'll put the links in the description. All right, here's some other ways of making your game more fun. So one thing I want to mention today is gameplay. And some people love to create these really elaborate stories like soap operas with their Sims, and they post it online on places like Tumblr or Blue Sky or Twitter and even Instagram. There are literally Simstagrams up there, and they are just for legacy play. And they will have one sim and it'll be like Dynasty, you know, like blah, 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 married, blah, 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 and then they got cancer, and they'll make up these stupid stories, and then they got married to this person, but then he cheated on her, and then, oh my God, that's my sister, and they're having a baby, and then they'll download all these mods, and it's like a realistic birth mod, and it's disgusting. You know, it's not disgusting. You know what I mean? But there's also another way of doing that as well, and there's a way you can actually journal your Sims, and that's where I sort of wanted to go back to the fact that I mentioned that in the forums, there's actually a tracker that I announced before. So go and check that out if you're into journaling, because I love doing a bullet journal, and I think that's a really cool way to track all of your Sims. And that leads me into the next point, which is challenges. And I love doing a challenge. And these are things like, so people have just made up rules in the game. And this sort of started coming out around Sims 2 with the legacy challenges. So it was kind of like, you know, have this generation, and then the next generation has to complete this set of rules before you can have a child to move on to the next generation kind of thing. And they're sort of just goals that you need to create. So there are the generational legacy challenges. And some of these legacy challenges are even more, I guess, specific. So you'll see things like the Not So Berry challenge. And this was created by Lil Simsy years ago. And it just basically are these different colors, and each generation has to complete different things. Currently, I'm doing an occult legacy, which is, one sim will be a ghost, and then that sim will have to do different things. Actually, I've got the alien happening at the moment, and then he wants to learn more about his family. So he's kind of obsessed with rocket science and wants to build a rocket and all these kind of things. We've also got things like the 100 Baby Challenge, which was made famous by Kelsey. She's an incredible streamer, and she's super famous. She's writing a book. So she did this 100 Baby Challenge and like literally put it on YouTube, and she's been famous for it. She's had 100 babies in the game, and I tried to do the 100 Baby Challenge and I sucked. So I did an A to Z baby challenge. So every single baby I had to have the name starting with the letter of the alphabet. So I did that one. There's also the Rags to Riches challenge, where you'll have a sim, it needs to be a young adult, and then you'll make the money 0. And then they have to basically live off the land and earn everything without getting a job. And then they have to build their house up from nothing. So it's a really cool way of, again, sort of increasing that motivation without having to add anything into your game by the form of mods. Now, I'm also going to mention as well that Little Simsy has actually released a new Not So Berry style challenge, and it's called the Very Veggie Challenge. And I'm going to be checking that one out. I'll leave the link below if you want to see it too. But you start off with a green sim, and she's a broccoli, but it's sort of updated for the new packs. And I just think that that's so sweet. Another couple of ways to make your game more fun, using one world. And I did this recently, and honestly, this really works. So you know how you've got different saves in The Sims 4? Are you the kind of person that opens up a new save every time you want to start a new game? Me too. I think I've got 100 and something, 70 something saves. But one day I was just like, nah, I'm going to open up this game, and I called it The World. Okay. So every single time I had a new idea and I got bored, I would just go, nah, I'm going to do this. And I would go in there and I would just do what I wanted to do, but in that world. So that other sim that I was currently playing was still there if I wanted to just swap over. And I could see them. And I was like, oh, hey, Raja, because I met my cat. And you have got the option to turn off aging. So they won't age unless you play them. That's a really cool way of having fun. Another one that I do constantly is playing with features you've never tried. So as I mentioned before, I've never done robots. So sometimes I just go onto the Wikipedia page or the fandom page and I'll bring up an expansion pack like Cottage Living is what I'm currently playing. And I realized that I never did the Henford on Bagley errands or whatever. So I'm currently going through and doing all the errands. Just little things like that you may have missed in any expansion pack without having to spend money, without having to download CC and destroy your computer. These are the ways that you can literally change your gameplay and hopefully find it. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I also just want to make a quick apology as well for last time. I did mention that there was no Sims 2 store. There was, in fact, a Sims 2 online store. It did exist. It had some little downloads on there. I actually went back through to the web archive, the Wayback Machine or whatever it's called, and found them. There were pre-order bonuses, extra content. There was like baby stuff like a playmat and a bouncy chair. There was like medieval sets, art deco sets, modern style furnishing, and the run with scissors object. Run with scissors. Okay, this is basically another way to die in The Sims, and I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. My name is Alex. You're listening to Live Mode, and please let me know in the comments what you would like to hear next time. You can find me on Blue Sky under WoohooTattoo. You'll find me on Instagram under WoohooTattoo, and of course on YouTube at WoohooTattoo. And don't forget, you'll be able to check this one out on Spotify and YouTube after today. Thank you so much. Don't forget to hit follow, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.